Claiming that a foundation is going to act like a real-life filter on your skin is a huge claim, and honestly, I'm a little skeptical. I'm talking about the Huda Beauty Easy Blur Foundation, which is one of the top foundations in the world right now. It's actually insane. And you guessed it, I'm going to be putting it to the test today. I'm going to be doing an application demo for you as well as a full day wear test. Before we get into application, I honestly don't have any major skin concerns at the moment. I do have this little mark on my chin, which is actually really dark in color. So we're gonna see if this foundation covers that up. Let's talk a little bit about the claims this product makes. Now, this does contain some skin-loving ingredients. It has 1.5% niacinamide, which is a really helpful ingredient to reduce texture over time. Some of that blurring effect comes from the addition of silica in this formula. It also claims to be vegan, cruelty-free, non-comedogenic, and ultra blurring. Apparently, people have been complaining about the packaging of this product, but for me personally, I like this packaging. It's very lightweight. It doesn't feel cheap to me, honestly. It feels very on par with a lot of other foundation products that I have, and there's a good amount of product in here. The very popular NARS Light Reflecting Foundation also has 30 ml, but the bottle is obviously way heavier. It's glass, so for me, it makes it a little hard to travel with that. Another very similar component we have is by Urban Decay. Their Face Bond Foundation also has 30 mils, and this is actually really comparable in weight to the Huda Beauty Easy Blur. And lastly, the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Foundation also has 30 milliliters. And honestly, I don't notice a discrepancy between how luxe the packaging feels between these two products. I'm going to start by applying it to one side of my face, and I'm going to use the brush that it comes with to do that. On the other side of my face, I'm going to use a sponge, but I just wanted to see the difference, if any, that comes with using different tools with this foundation. So this foundation comes in a squeezy tube, which I personally have no issues with. So I'm going in with the shade Cashew, and I'm noticing on the bottle it says to shake well. So I'm going to do that. I like to put foundation on the back of my hand before applying it to my face, so that is how I would use this one. So I'm going right in with the Huda Beauty Face Base Brush, just picking up that product off the back of my hand. And I'm going to start by applying it to this side of my face. I'm starting off with more of a thin layer because I want to test how buildable this foundation is. So I actually went to the launch event here in Vancouver for this product, and I was color matched at the event, and this is actually a pretty good match for me. So my first impression, it was very easy to apply and blend. This brush actually did a really good job. There are no streak marks or anything, and it did a nice job of just evening everything out without looking heavy. My skin very much still looks like skin, and if you know me, that's something I look for in a foundation. I'm very iffy about foundations that kind of apply a little bit heavier and kind of look like a mask. I don't like that look. So I'm gonna go in with a little bit more, just using that brush. I'm gonna build it up a little bit on my cheek. Okay, so that is 2 layers. You really cannot see any of that discoloration that was present before I applied the foundation, and it was very buildable. It honestly built on top of itself very, very nicely. There's no cakiness, no streaks, and I honestly applied a pretty generous amount, so I have to say I'm quite impressed. I do prefer the look of just 1 layer though, but it's good to know you can build. So this is the side-by-side comparison. This is without, this is with. So on this side, I'm going to apply the foundation using a sponge, and I just got this one from One Size, and it is so massive and kind of weirdly shaped. Reminds me of one of those like tools that went viral that people would like smack on their face. Anyways, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pick up the product right on the sponge. Okay, so that is 1 layer with the sponge. I don't know if I just don't love the sponge, but I personally prefer the brush, I think. This definitely gives a bit more of a natural finish, and it gives a little bit less coverage, but it looks pretty similar, honestly. There's no huge difference between applying with a sponge or a brush. I think you can use either or. I'm going to try and build it up a little bit using a sponge. Okay, so that is the sponge side applied. My major takeaways from the 2 different application styles is you do get more coverage when you use a brush. However, when you build it up using a sponge, I just think my pores look a little bit more blurred compared to the side where I used a brush. However, I still prefer just 1 layer application on each side personally. But overall, both sides are looking pretty good. So I just zoomed you guys in a little bit so you can see up close what the skin is looking like on each side. Anyways, I thought I would do the rest of my base just on camera for you guys so you guys can see how this foundation reacts when you're applying products on top of it. I tried to pick as many Huda Beauty products to go on top of this foundation, but I don't actually have a contour product from Huda, so I'm going to go in with this Juvia's Place Bronzed Cream Bronzer in the shade Buttercream. Now for concealer, I'm using the Huda Beauty Faux Filter Concealer. I don't think I'm the biggest fan of this concealer. It's a little bit full coverage for my liking, but if you like full coverage, you'll probably really like this one. I'm just applying this under my eyes, a little bit on the forehead, around my nose and mouth, and right on top of that little dark spot. The foundation did a pretty good job of covering it, but I did need a little more coverage. Time to add some blush. This is actually one of my favorite Huda Beauty products. This is their blush filter in the shade Cotton Candy. If you have fair skin, oh, this blush is just so good. It's the perfect light, cool pink shade, and it looks so natural. It blends so easily. I'm going to link it down below as well as everything else that I'm talking about in this video. Okay, so I think that's pretty much all I want to do for the base. I'm going to go ahead and powder now. And obviously this look would not be complete without the Huda Beauty Easy Bake Powder. I'm using the shade Cupcake and I'm using it with a one size powder puff. I find these puffs really nice and finely knit. I don't know, I've just been really loving them lately. I'll link them down below as well. Okay, so that is the base completed. I'm gonna go off camera and do the rest of my makeup and then come back for my final check-in before I start the wear test. I will say my base is looking pretty blurred. It's looking pretty filtered, but I'm gonna go do the rest of my makeup and I will be right back. Okay, so the rest of the makeup is done. I honestly just wanted to keep it pretty simple, pretty natural. I actually think it looks really good. Like, particularly my base, it looks very flawless, but it doesn't look cakey, which is huge to me. Like, typically I go for a tinted moisturizer kind of vibe, but the reason I do that is because I just don't want to look cakey and heavy. I don't mind my skin looking flawless, but you know what I'm trying to say. This is giving flawless without any cakiness, without any heaviness. My skin, honestly, like, it does kind of look like a filter. I'm not gonna lie, this is definitely a special product that I haven't really seen anything quite like this before. It is very, very blurring. I don't know, I would love to hear your guys' thoughts. What do you think of this base? It's a little bit different from my typical, but I really, really like it. So it's 12:09 right now. I'm about to go meet a friend of mine for some bubble tea. I'm so excited. I love bubble tea. I'm like a bubble tea fiend. And then after that, I'm gonna come in and check in with you guys. And then once I do that kind of midday check-in, I'm gonna head out for dinner. So it might be a little bit of a later night, but nonetheless, I'm gonna head back in at the end of the night and do a final check-in where I show you guys what it looks like at the end of the day and kind of give you guys my final thoughts. So I will see you guys in a little bit. All right, so we are back for our first check-in. I have some thoughts. It's almost 5, so it's been more than 4.5 hours. Let's see how this foundation is holding up. I haven't done any touch-ups to the base, and I'm probably not going to just because I want it to be a true test. I'm gonna be honest, it's looking pretty good. I'm actually surprised because it was raining outside and I kind of thought that the base was gonna get a little messed up, but no, it's looking pretty good. Very minor creasing in my smile lines, very, very minor. A little bit of creasing on the under eyes, nothing outside of the ordinary. In fact, I would say it looks better than usual. It's gotten a little bit shiny, but not to the point where I feel like I look greasy. I would say probably at this point, I would do a little powder and I wouldn't have any issue with that, but it's looking pretty good. Honestly, I'm very happy with how this is holding up. And this is what the skin is looking like at about half a day's wear. Do you guys want to know something so funny that definitely was not planned? My friend that I met up with for bubble tea was not only wearing the Easy Blur foundation, but she was also wearing the Easy Bake powder. So interesting, because when I walked up to her, I was like, wow, her skin looks so smooth and blurred. Turns out we basically have the same base on, so I just thought that was kind of funny. I'm about to head out for dinner. I honestly don't know when I'm going to be back, but I will see you in a moment for our final check-in. Alrighty, you guys, final check-in. It is now 12:32 a.m. So this is an over 12-hour wear test. I'm actually pretty proud of that. I'm glad I had a later night than I expected, because we're going to get into this final review, final thoughts, okay? This is what it looks like close up after 12 hours of wear. So I have not touched up my face all night long. Let me get into what I'm seeing. So on my forehead, it's a little bit shiny, but honestly, nothing too crazy. I would obviously like to touch it with a little bit of powder, but in person, it doesn't look too bad. I do have some creasing underneath my eyes, but I think that is more to do with the concealer. The Huda Beauty concealer is a little bit thick, and I do find it typically does crease a little bit on me. Just personal preference, not my favorite concealer, like I mentioned. I do have some very minor smile lines around my mouth. Very minor. I've been doing a lot of laughing and smiling tonight. So honestly, considering all things, these smile lines are super minor, not a huge problem to me. I do have some like makeup wearing off my face. Right here, you can see there's like a patch of my blush that's worn off, and on my chin from touching my face, the foundation came off a little bit. Yeah, final thoughts. It's held up really well, better than most foundations, I would say. And if I were able to just touch it up a little bit, give it a little powder here and there, I don't think there would have been so much transfer and like product wear off throughout the day. So something to keep in mind, a little bit of a powder here and there with this foundation would go a really long way, but obviously I didn't want to do that for the sake of testing this foundation. 12 hours of wear is a long time, and I have been out and about, eating, drinking, laughing, all of the things, had a really amazing day, so I'm actually very impressed at how this foundation has held up. Would I recommend this foundation? Yes, I honestly would. If you want to pick it up, I've got it linked down below. Just so you know, it's an affiliate link, so if you buy using my link, I'll get a small commission. If you want to support me and support this channel in that way, I would greatly appreciate it, but no pressure. Obviously, just letting you know. I do think this foundation launch is a special one. It is a unique product launch. I love to see that, and I also think the hype is very warranted. But yeah, guys, have you tried this foundation? What do you think? Let me know in the comment section down below. And is there anything you want to see me test out next for you guys? I really love getting your input. But yeah, that is it for today's video. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.